So this new YouTube SEO report came out, and it was like this combo study. So for those of you that don't know, YouTube is the second largest search engine behind only Google, which owns it. So, you know, it's like second, but with an asterisk. But it's the second largest search engine. And this particular YouTube SEO report was put together because YouTube videos themselves have this whole SEO component as far as being able to be discovered and found when you search on YouTube, and even by extension when you search on Google, because the videos that are fed into Google search results are pretty much almost exclusively YouTube. There have been some discussions that they're going to test. They're always testing, maybe bringing in Reels or Instagram short videos. But those relationships run so hot and cold. It's like, yeah, we're going to show Facebook. And then they get in a spat and they're like, yeah, screw you. And they throw it away. And so you never know. You can rely that they're going to be pulling in YouTube videos forever because it's their thing. It's their platform. It's Google's platform. So this was put together by Tubics and Semrush. A service. Actually, I interviewed a buddy of mine, Fernando from Semrush. You can go back and listen in the archives, tripodpodcast.com. We talked all about Semrush and we talked SEO, but this was like a combo report they did together. And I'm going to pull out some interesting takeaways here. And the first one is this idea, or more so actually a strategy that they found from looking at, number one, results and things like that, and what comes up high. And for those of you out there creating video, this is you need to kind of put both feet firmly to either go concise or go elaborate. So that's the first thing, is if you're going to do a video, you want to be super concise and make it short. And when I say short, let's say sub 5 minutes. Or you want to go in and make this thing super detailed and in-depth. Now, for any of you who also check out Tricycle Creative videos, you know where I go. I go elaborate because I am a long-winded son of a.
Me too.
I can't help myself. Now, the nice thing is, for a handful of my videos, because I do a lot of reviews and walkthroughs, people are like, wow, this was really helpful, step by step by step. I go elaborate because I don't know any other way, right? When you consume video, Kayla, do you find yourself leaning one way or another depending on the type of videos you're watching or searching for?
Definitely. It's interesting because you'll have vloggers or people doing a long read of a situation that will apologize for their length of their video. Oh, this is going to be 20 minutes. Yeah. But then you'll have people who, they're making 1 minute or even 30-second videos and crushing it. And usually those I'm going for a how-to or a quick piece of information. If you're going to dive deep, dive deep. I think people want to sit with a snack and a beverage and really consume that.
I think part of that, too, is reading the room and what already exists. Because I think you can also relate. There's nothing more annoying than looking for, a how-to video. And then it's the person is spending 45 minutes or something. It's how to, fix a clogged sink. Yep. And they spend, 10 minutes talking about the particular wrench, which seems to have no intrinsic value to the end result. And you're like, can you move it along here?
Or it's a 10-minute branded spot ahead of them actually telling us what we came to know. Catch me scrolling ahead. And to be honest,
worse.
Yeah, I have seen it so many times where it almost seems like people are doing the opposite, really cutting their story short and then trying to have this brief content be stretched out.
You're so right. Sometimes where you're like, I wish there was more here. And other times where you're like, for the love of God, please cut this down.
Well, and so you're saying duration matters for rankability, though, too?
It does, because duration matters, because one of the huge factors in in YouTube SEO ranking is what's called watch time. And that is not only a metric of how many minutes and seconds, but it's also a metric of percentage of video.
Oh.
So that is really key, because even if your video, let's say, how to fix a kitchen sink, if your video is 5 minutes, but a giant bulk of your audience is watching the entirety of the 5 minutes versus a 20-minute video, and
where they're
people
bouncing.
and they're bouncing, then some of the signals there is that this video is kind of scratching that itch better. The one that's a 5 minute and you're watching all 5 minutes versus
Right.
a 20 and you're only watching 5 minutes of the 20.
Yeah.
So this is where watch time, if you're going to get consumed over anything, you need to be consumed about or obsessed about watch time. I also did a video on my YouTube channel about buying YouTube views. I bought YouTube views, and I was and I did
Wow.
it because, I was very curious about it. I wanted to know how it worked.
Yeah.
And so I did a whole video breakdown of whether or not you should buy YouTube views. You can check that out at youtube.com/Tricycle Creative and just search, buy YouTube views. You'll see a whole video breakdown. I went, shocker, I went deep. I went elaborate on it. I didn't go short. So you get a whole breakdown.
That
Trust me.
seems appropriate.
That's right. So the other thing when it comes to titling, 54% of all the analyzed videos come with an average of 8 words in their title.
Oh, wow.
So this is the thing about data, and I think you would agree with this. I tell my clients when it comes to data, particularly when it comes to SEO, you use data to inform, not dictate.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that you need to be shackled in and exactly make 8 words, but this tells you that there's something to brevity when it comes to titling.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting when it came to, building out your title and being very thoughtful and specific
Yeah.
when it comes to how you're titling your video. Because I think people think, if I put more in there, that more is always better, and it's not.
No, and you see those titles that go on and they get truncated, so you don't even get to see the whole thing. And I've always thought that was a keyword move, trying to stuff more keywords into the title. It seems like that's not a good move.
It is a keyword move, but
Yeah.
it is also, to your point, not necessarily
Not a good one.
good move by itself. I mean, just like with normal SEO, keywords, Google and by extension YouTube, they're smarter now.
Yeah.
It's not just about keyword stuffing. I can't tell you how many clients I work with on the SEO front that come to me and, having come from talk to someone else, some armchair SEO expert, and they're still subscribing to the keyword stuffing. And I'm like, run, don't walk from that person.
Yeah.
Run away and lock your door and don't answer their call.
It's a good example of someone to unfollow on Twitter.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So if we work our way into another kind of part of a video, next part is a description. And from this report we're looking at, again, it's a Semrush and Tubics report. I'll include it in the show notes, tripodpodcast.com, and also in the description for this podcast if you want to check out the whole thing for yourself, is that more than half of the videos that ranked at the first position have more than 50 words in the description of the video.
Interesting.
So this is another area where the more context, the more copy, the more words that you use in the description, that helps to inform the YouTube algorithm as to what the video is about. That is valuable.
Interesting. Do we think that the description length matters more from a just scrapeability of trying to get those keywords and that context for the bot or crawler that's running that? Or do they expect that people are also reading them? Do you think there's a value in making it readable?
Well, that's a really good question. I think if I was going to rank those two things, I think it's probably a little bit slightly less about people actually reading it and more about, again, context clues.
Yeah.
For the spiders, the YouTube, technology to get that information.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should only be writing for the robots. This applies to SEO too. Write for people, don't write for Google. Don't write for YouTube. Write as if you're talking to a person. Use the same words. Use what I call keyword cousins. So if you're doing a video, again, about fixing the kitchen sink or fixing the sink, talk about the kitchen, the bathroom, talk about the particular, if you have a certain wrench and this is a constant problem, but like talk as if you were talking to a person, not as if you're talking to a robot.
Yeah.
I think that's an important piece for any SEO, but particularly for video. Now, interestingly enough, you talked about that scrapability, and this is really where this next kind of finding or piece comes in, and that's with the tags. So when you put tags on a video, those aren't publicly seen. There are tools that allow you to see the tags that people put on videos, but otherwise, it's not publicly facing. It's only seen by and scanned and reviewed by YouTube. The little tags you put on, like the keywords, for lack of a better word, but they're called tags.
Sure.
And this study found that the top ranking videos use an average of 13 tags. Now, an individual tag can be a key phrase, too. So it's not necessarily a singular word. So, for example, back to the fixing a sink. It could be how to fix a kitchen sink. That could be one tag.
Okay.
So a key phrase can make up a singular tag. But like I said, an average of 13.
And these are the tags that you would enter in the back end. They're, as you're saying, not visible to people. Would you also be putting hashtags manually into the description, or is that a separate thing?
No, that's a great question, because for those of you that don't know, hashtags have come to YouTube. Now, the way it works, though, they will group videos together based on hashtag, but they only show, and I think by extension only function, with up to 3.
Okay.
So you can put a hashtag. Hashtags go in the description. You can put a video hashtag in the description. Now, again, no more than 3, because that's all. It counts the first 3 in order, whatever you put them in. And it'll group them. So if someone sees that hashtag under your video and clicks on it, it'll show them other related videos to it.
Nice.
But that goes in the description. But it's kind of a similar subject, whereas the hashtag, coming from Twitter, it's kind of like this is the almost like the environment, if you will, that this video should live in. Whereas the tags can be a little more granular.
Yeah.
Right.
Getting into the specific topics or even items you mentioned and that kind of thing.
Like this sink metaphor or whatever, the example I'm using here would be like, your hashtag could be home repair. But your tags could be how to fix a kitchen sink.
Right.
You see, so like there's kind of this hierarchy, if you will, that you can use. Now, the last thing that I did want to bring up is another relatively new feature to YouTube, and that is this timestamps, or otherwise known as chaptering. Have you seen this, Kayla?
Yes.
Have you seen this? Like, do you like it? Do you like the chaptering?
I do, because I like a lot of long videos. And these are especially valuable.
Kayla's my people. See that? She loves long ass videos.
Long videos. I love it because if I'm coming to, let's say, a big overview video about a big topic, it's 25 minutes long or 40 or an hour, I can find the specific chapters that I'm looking for on the little annotations. So you can actually scan across the time bar and it'll show you, this is the part where I'm talking about, this type of optimization versus that, and I can go and find it. I'm already somebody who listens to a lot of YouTube videos at double speed because I'm just needing to consume a lot in the day. So this feature is great. I haven't thought about it, though, from an optimization perspective, how it might help somebody posting on YouTube.
Well, I want to ask you this, as again, I mean, I don't know, there's few people who aren't YouTube users who are probably listening to this, but when you use the chaptering, do you think that you find yourself actually watching more of a video or less of a video? Because this is a debate among the tubers.
Less.
Yeah. But is that a good thing? Is it a better experience for you?
Yeah. That's
Right?
I think this is a dichotomy, I think, in a lot of industries for a lot of reasons. What the company wants, or in this case, what the creator wants, which is to get as much, like you're saying, percentage of viewership as they can, versus what the consumer or viewer in this case wants, which is to have ultimate efficiency.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be a push-pull. I think that creators playing the long game will probably get more out of just going with what benefits their users or subscribers. But that's always the fight, right? The algorithm versus the actual value.
So I don't have a set pro-con list going here, but there are. Let me also roll out for you some of the other pros of doing timestamps or chaptering. So for those of you that don't know, what you can do on a YouTube video is you can actually set up, and you could probably do a YouTube search. I think did a video on this myself on how to do chaptering on YouTube videos. But you drop them into the description, and what it then does is automatically adds these like markers at the bottom of the video, right above the player with the little play button. And you can skip, and you can actually kind of move your mouse over it and see the certain sections, and then skip to the particular sections. Well, one side obviously believes, or there are people who are like, well, someone's, like you just said, is going to watch less of my video because they're just going to skip ahead or skip to the part that they want. My argument to that would be, well, if you didn't, that person may not even get that information from you.
Right.
Like, that's my counter argument to that. Is like, would you rather them get value or bounce completely from your channel?
Right.
Right. The other thing is, when you do the chaptering, I've seen this, and you've probably seen this too, this is now being pulled into Google search. So if I search for something and a chapter inside of a video matches like a relevant answer to that query, it will bring up the video and it will show me the chaptering.
Yep.
And show me the exact point where to jump in.
Yeah. And
that
to
is
me,
huge.
Yeah, to me, that is a pathway then to get people looking at all your other videos. And there may be other topics, they'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
One other, kind of interesting thing I'm thinking about, and maybe this is something you've thought about too, is if I'm looking at the chapters on a video, I can skip the sponsored sections.
Yeah.
Not talking about mid-roll ads, but actual sponsorship content within the video. I can just go, oh, HelloFresh. Yeah, I'll skip that whole section. I've heard it 1,000 times.
Sorry, HelloFresh.
Sorry. Don't.
HelloFresh, official sponsor of this episode. Well, aha, you couldn't skip it. Haha, gotcha.
Well, and that's the thing, I have seen them all so many times that, I'm familiar with most of the sponsors on YouTube, I think, as much as the rest of us. And I can skip that content. That doesn't bode well. And I don't know if that's something that's measurable to YouTubers or not, but that doesn't bode well for sponsorships.
That's true. Very true. So let me think on that, because this is the first time. So you can skip over. So what you do find a lot of times are, and I've done this for a handful of videos, for videos that are not necessarily sponsored, but I like to promote platforms that I think would help my audience, creative business owners. In a lot of times, I've negotiated discounts with those platforms. I've contacted them, talked about my audience, and I get some sort of discount, which I think is helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of times what you'll see is that people will start off a video with that, right? They'll start first with that, and then conceivably work it in a little more organically. But to your point, yeah, if you're going to call out that very specific sponsor piece, people are going to be able to skip it. So it is something that I think is a creative challenge opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? It's
definitely.
How do you, again, make that sponsor relevant, interesting, like in an organic way, and valuable, and show the value in an organic way, versus just you're relying on the fact that you can trick them or get them because they got no place else to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's an interesting kind of comparison between putting a product commercial in between, an episode of a show versus having that product placed in the
Yeah,
show.
totally.
And I mean, I'm not suggesting that product placement is the best alternative, but there's got to be a way to weave it into the story. And I think that that's really probably what the future of consumers expects. We're getting sick
Yeah.
of being advertised to.
I mean, here's the thing. Like when I'm creating a video, I have so much time planning and recording and editing. And then the last thing I want to do is sit down and make dinner. So that's when I call HelloFresh. So you can go to hellofresh.com/tripod for inevitably a 404 page, because that's not a thing that exists. But you can see how this could be conceivably worked in a not even that well thought out way.
Yeah.
Now, bringing this all together for the last point, timestamps. This report found that timestamps, when it comes to search rankings on YouTube, a video coming up higher or lower, that it did not seem to make much of a difference whether or not a video had the timestamps or not. Now, timestamps in this chaptering is relatively new. Relatively. So I think this is something that it's kind of promising. Because what this is showing is that what Google is not doing and what YouTube is not doing is just being like, oh, you're doing chaptering, we're gonna boost your video more than others.
Right.
Which is something that's kind of that's kind of like a dick Facebook move. It's like, oh, you're posting reels, then we're definitely going to show your reels in front of 10x the people because we're really leaning in on reels. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be that way. It does not seem to be that just by using that feature are you getting a competitive advantage against other videos.
And that's how it should be.
I agree.
You know, yeah, that's really how it should be, because people are building real businesses on these social channels, on these media channels, where there's got to be a certain amount of predictability and reliability to using them. I think it's a disrespect to business owners to flaunt a new feature and then just overtly praise people who use it. And we've seen that done on other platforms.
Pardon me.
What was that, words?
I don't know. I can tell you firsthand because I was involved in video when Facebook was pushing video. So this was let's just call it the 2000 and, oh my God, this is a long time ago. 2004, 2010 to 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
Where they were leaning in on video and wanted people uploading video to YouTube. And they were trying to, at that time, to compete with YouTube as the video platform. That's when I was working in corporate media and doing video production. And boy, was that a fun time to be in video.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were juicing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
It's obscene. It's like, it literally was like sometimes 20x the reach of a video. And now video always does, well, not always. Video most of the time does better than other content. But like it was just obscene and obvious that this was getting that extra algorithmic boost because that's what Facebook wanted to encourage people to do. That doesn't
and for
seem
marketers,
to be what YouTube's doing.
Social media managers, anybody using any of these platforms and really watching these metrics, that's a stress. It's not automatically a benefit because those don't convert to buyers. They're not automatically reliable metrics at all. So.
And it's hard because it's what is it, the tail wagging the dog? Is that what the saying? Where it's like it's not. You don't have control. The wins you get there are only because of an external force that you don't control. So it's kind of like, again, the result comes with an asterisk. Because you could then, if Facebook decides to stop doing that, which it did, then all of a sudden the strategy you built, and this is digital marketing, so, you know, this kind of comes with the territory. But if Facebook decides to pull the rug out from under that, then that strategy you had, guess what? It's garbage.
Yeah, and you're building from scratch. And that's why I warn, business owners and people against TikTok. It's a great platform. There's a lot of great content over there in ways, but that early surge of being able to get 1 million followers didn't mean anything. Yeah. It just didn't unless you were going to monetize that platform itself.
Totally.